Assessing the effectiveness of sequence diagrams in the comprehension of functional requirements by Rajat Rawat. Modeling is a fundamental activity within the requirement engineering process and concerns the construction of abstract descriptions of requirements that are amenable to, to interpretation and validation. The choice of a modeling technique is critical whenever it is necessary to discuss the interpretation and validation of requirements. This is particularly true in the case of functional requirements and stakeholders with different goals and different backgrounds and experience. This results of a family experiments conducted with students and professionals to investigate whether the comprehension of functional requirements is influenced by the use of dynamic models and represented by means of UML sequence diagrams. The family contains 5 experiments performed in different locations and with 112 participants of different abilities and level of experience with UML. The results show that the sequence diagrams improve the comprehension of the model functional requirements in case of high ability and more experienced participants. The goal of our study is to analyze the use of dynamic models with the purpose of assessing whether they improve the comprehension of model functional requirements for different categories of users in terms of experience and ability. Two are the perspectives of the family from the researcher's point of view to investigate and support provided by the sequence diagram in the comprehension of functional requirements, and from project manager's point of view to evaluate the possibility of adopting these models to enhance the requirement representations. The group of participants were undergraduate students in computer science with some knowledge of UML, master's students in computer science, many of them being professionals, PhD students in computer science who have attended various software engineering courses, software industry professionals who design and develop the software systems. Regarding the participants' ability, the students were classified according to average grades attained in their academic degrees. The material was composed of 2 experimental objects containing a set of models with the attached comprehension questionnaires, the training material, and a post-experimental survey questionnaires. The experimental objects were the models of the functional requirement of e-commerce system and the other typical management information system. The comprehension questionnaire included multiple choice questions. The questionnaires used in the replication conducted in Spain were translated from Italian into English and then into Spanish. The training materials included a set of slides containing an introduction to both the UML diagrams considered in the experiment and the use case template employed along with the examples of use models. A set of slides describing the procedure to be followed by the experiments, comprehension tasks related to UML. At the end of each experiment, the participants were asked to fill the post-experiment survey questionnaire. The questionnaire aimed at gathering sufficient insight to the strength and to explain the results. This figure summarizes the family of experiments. The rectangles represent the experiment and are grouped by the experimental objects which were used. The figure also shows the execution order of the experiment, the kind of replication, the participants involved and their number, and the name associated with each experiment. For example, Italy 1. The second and third experiments, Italy 2 and Spain 1, were differentiated replication of original experiment which was Italy 1. In different setting with different participants, each particular Italy 2 was the internal replication, the same experiments as the original one, while Spain 1 was the external replication conducted by the different examiners to verify whether the results were independent of both the experiments and experimental setting. In Italy 2 and Spain 1, the same experimental objects as Italy 1 were employed. The fourth and fifth experiments, that is Spain 2 and Spain 3, were differentiated replication whose goal was to repeat the first experiment with different participant and experimental objects. An independent group of experimenters conducted these experiments with the help of the external replications. The results of each individual experiment and family of experiments were collected and analyzed. We also performed a meta-analysis to aggregate the results. Since the experimental condition was similar for each experiment, we performed a meta-analysis to obtain a stronger results with regard the contribution of sequence diagrams to comprehend the functional requirements. A functional model focuses on the software functionality, while an analysis object model focuses on the individual concept of the problem domain that will be manipulated by the software system. Finally, a dynamic model concerns the software system behavior of the meaningful use cases presented in the functional model. In this study, use case diagrams were employed to describe the functional model, while diagrams and sequence diagrams were used to describe the analysis model and dynamic model respectively. The two experimental objects which were selected from the requirement analysis specification of the following two systems: ECP, an e-commerce platform from which CDs and books can be ordered via the internet from an online catalog; ePlat, a software system for the management of courses, lectures, and students of a university. Functional requirements were selected randomly, like processing an order for the first system ECP, and then used corresponding models. Functional requirement adding a course and its models were similarly selected for the second system ePlat. Null hypothesis is one-sided for a positive effect of sequence diagrams on the comprehension of the models. HN0, the comprehension of functional requirement does not significantly improve when participants are provided with the models that include the UML diagrams. In the case of rejection of null hypothesis, we can relatively high confidence. It is possible to formulate the alternate hypothesis that admits a positive effect. HA0, the comprehension of functional requirements significantly improves when participants were provided with models and include UML sequence diagrams. The participants who performed with comprehension tasks with no DM, which means no dynamic models, received as documentation a functional model and an analysis of object model. The participants who performed the task with DM, which is with dynamic model, also received a dynamic model. The control group is requirement specification without dynamic models abstracted using the sequence diagrams, while a treatment group is requirement specification with dynamic models abstracted using sequence diagrams. Therefore, the only independent variable or the main factor is method, which is nominal variable that can assume two possible values. One is dynamic model and sign, which is DM, and second is no dynamic model, which is no DM. To test null hypothesis, a measure considered based on the comprehension of models representing the functional requirements. The comprehensive questionnaire consisted of multiple choice questions. Each question admitted one or more correct answers among a set of 4. The number of possible answers was same for each question. The purpose of this questionnaire was to rapidly evaluate various comprehension aspects of the model and then abstracted functional requirements. A counterbalanced adopted design by dividing the participant into 4 groups, namely A, B, C, D, which can be seen in the table 1. The participants in each group were asked to perform the task without interacting with each other. The two tasks were performed sequentially with an interval of 15 minutes. The chosen design mitigates the possible learning effects. We use the pre-questionnaire to gather some information about the participants, that is the industrial work experience, their GPA, etc. To assess their ability level and experience, then using the GPA, we split the participants into 4 groups where high and low ability participants were equally distributed. Other factors may influence the results. In the particular, different factors may have undesirable effect on the comprehension of the model functional requirements, and this effect may confused with the effect of the method. First is object. Object is the complexity of the models used, and the participants' familiarity with the application domain of the system may affect the comprehension of the functional requirements. Second is order of method. The order in which participants perform the task may produce learning effects, thus bias the results. Replica experiments. There were 4 replicas. First is Italy 2. The participants were 24 students from computer science master's degree program from UNISA who were enrolled in the advanced software engineering course. The experiment was conducted as a part of series of lab exercises carried out within the course. The course was held in the second semester. All students of Italy 2 had received a bachelor's degree with computer science from UNISA. Second, in Spain 1, the participants were 33 students enrolled in master's degree program in a software engineering, formal methods and information systems at UPV. They were asked to perform the experiment as a part of series of optional lab exercises conducted within the software engineering with the model course. This course was held in the first semester and was selected because it is specialized teaching unit in which students learn techniques regarding the conceptual modeling in the UML and model driven engineering. Spain 2. This experiment varied the manner in which Italy 1 was run with the intention to increase the confidence in the experimental results by testing the same hypothesis as before, but altering the details of the experiment to increase the external validity. Different experimental objects were selected from the following two systems: M-Shop, a software system for managing the sales of a music shop, and Theatre, a software system for managing the theatre ticket selling. The participants were 20 PhD students enrolled in the software engineering formal methods and information system PhD program at UPV. The experiment was conducted in the course software engineering with models as a part of series of lab exercises. And the last one was Spain 3. Here they employed the same design and experimental object as used in Spain 2. The participant involved was 16 professionals from Spanish software development companies. The professional had various backgrounds and various levels of experience in modeling with the UML. They primarily worked as software analysts and the programmers. Results. Result for Italy 1. The result of the original experiment showed that the ability did not significantly influence the comprehension. High ability participants always achieve higher scores regardless whether they use the sequence diagrams or not. Italy 2. The low ability participants achieve better comprehension scores than the high ability ones when they were using the sequence diagram, although the difference can be considered as a meaningless because it was very less. It was less than 0.048. The high ability participants achieved better comprehension where they did not use the sequence diagram, suggests that the models appear to fill the gap between the low and the high ability participants. Both high and low ability participants seem to be benefited from the sequence diagrams. Result of Spain 1. High ability participants achieve better results when using the sequence diagram. It would thus appear that high ability participants benefited more from the sequence diagram than the low ability participants. Also, the low ability participants achieve better results when sequence diagrams were not used. Results for the Spain 2. The results of the data analysis revealed that the ability had no significant effect on the comprehension. Low ability participants obtained better results than high ability when they were performing without the sequence diagrams. High ability participants achieved better results when they were using the sequence diagrams. Results of Spain 3. Low ability participants obtained better results than high ability when performing comprehension tasks without the sequence diagrams. High ability participants achieved better results when using the sequence diagrams, and high ability participants benefited more from the sequence diagram than the low ability participants. A summary of experiments and their results is provided in the table 8. The main result of the family of the experiments indicates that the support was found for hypothesis HA0 in all the experiments, with the exception of the original one. This indicates that the use of sequence diagrams significantly improves the comprehension of the models representing the functional requirement when participants have adequate level of experience, at least bachelor degree in the computer science. The results of the family of experiments also open for a number of issues. Comprehension. The comprehension mean scores of Spain 1 participant were lower than those of the other experiment. The comprehension mean scores obtained by the Spanish PhD students and professional are comparable to those Italian students. Reason might be the complexity of the experiment object used in Spain 2 and Spain 3 were more complex than they were used in the other experiments. The second one is the participants' experience. The Spanish students and the professional and the Italian students from Italy 2 had more experience than those of Italy 1. This indicates that more experienced participants are obtained greater benefit from the sequence diagrams. And the third word, influence of ability. High or low ability will benefit from the use case diagrams. All experiments indicated that there are some interaction between the method and the ability. Experimental results indicated that the high ability participant obtained better results than the low ability ones, with the with the exception of the Italy 2, in which a slight difference in the favor of low ability participants were observed. For Italy 2, the difference between the low ability and the high ability participants when using sequence diagrams can be considered as meaningless because the difference was very less. It was less than 0.048. We have reported the results of a family of 5 experiments conducted to assess whether dynamic models represented in the terms of UML sequence diagrams improve stakeholders' comprehension when dealing with the function requirements. We carried out the experiments focusing on the comprehension without considering any time efficiency evaluation in different locations and with different participants, including students and professionals of different abilities and level of experience. The context of the original experiment was a group of computer science undergraduate students from University of Balistiskata. The results showed that the participants judged the use of sequence diagram to be useful, although the effect of sequence diagrams was not statistically significant. Possible reasons for this may be the participants were familiar with the domain of the specification employed, or the participant had no adequate previous experience in the modeling with the UML. To verify these findings, we carried out 4 replication of this experiment with the professional and more experienced students. The results of the replication revealed that the sequence diagram significantly improves the comprehension of model functional requirements. A possible explanation is that more experienced and high ability participants benefit more when information is structured as in the sequence diagrams.